You're listening to Prep Period, the only podcast for teachers that's focused on quick wins and actionable tips that can be implemented in your classroom tomorrow. Prep Period starts in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Prep Period podcast. My name is Brian Bean. I'm going to be your host for this episode. We're actually going to do part 2 of the interview with Joel Chrisler from Sauk Prairie High School. For those of you who, just kind of a reminder of what we did in part 1 of the interview, Joel Chrisler is an award-winning teacher. He developed a number of different programs, and in part 1 of the Joel Chrisler episode, we actually went through and talked about 2 of those programs. One was the peer-to-peer financial literacy program, where he had high school students going and teaching personal finance concepts to elementary school kids. And then the other program, he calls it the Sauk Prairie Economic Empowerment Project, the Economic Empowerment Project, where he worked extensively with local businesses and the Chamber of Commerce to bring local industry leaders into his classroom to help really elevate his kids' education. Phenomenal programs, loved it. If you haven't, go check out that episode. Today we're going to pick up where we left off. We just finished talking about the Economic Empowerment Project, and we're going to segue into a discussion about some other really unique and cool things that Joel is doing in the classroom. So let's take it up from there. That's awesome. The thing I love about this kind of stuff is that, it kind of goes almost the opposite direction that a lot of teachers that I see are trying to do. I see a lot of business teachers, for example, that want to try and tie financial literacy into their curriculum, which is a great thing. Obviously, that's a great thing, and I'm a big fan of it. But what it sounds like what you're trying to do is you're showcasing that financial literacy students, you're showing them that, this financial literacy is connected to everything else, by trying, to do kind of a lot of what other business and CTE courses and bringing their materials into your curriculum and what you do in the classroom. And I love that idea. I think it's great, man. Because it can go either way, and it shows how interrelated all these topics really are, and frankly should be, the way when we're teaching them. So in fact, let's kind of stay on this general topic if you're okay. I don't want to navigate away. I like this. Is there anything else that you do that's kind of outside the box thinking that maybe other teachers could also consider doing that might include more of the community and other things like that?
The couple of things that I've done, one of them is, and I haven't been able to do this obviously again because of the times that we're in, but I have a friend of mine in the community that owns apartments. And so we do a short unit right at the very end about renting apartments. And I've taken entire classes over to their apartments, and we've conducted a search and taken a look at it. And the landlord would be there, and they would be able to answer questions. And so we literally would walk over with a check sheet. Let's look at the grounds. What do the grounds look like? What kind of building is this? How secure is it? And then when we'd actually go into the building and they'd get a chance to look around, it just is a great way to do it. The landlord loved it because it kind of exposed her as, a really nice person that's got these buildings out there.
And a future option for when these kids are at that stage in their life.
Yeah. And so that's been good. And just a funny side note, one of my little summer gigs that I did early in my career was I was a leasing agent for an apartment complex in a town nearby. The first couple that I showed an apartment to were former students. Oh. And so it was just funny watching them go through and look at all the things that we had talked about and asking me all the right questions. And so it was a good success story.
I know. I love that because when you think about it, we can teach that kind of stuff. And obviously, even in my simulation that I've done, we try to incorporate the different kind of variables you need to take into consideration and the opportunity costs and different things like that for getting into an apartment. But what you're doing there is you're taking it obviously a step further by taking them there. But the part I love is you're giving them a chance to experience the kind of things that you would take into consideration for actual living in the circumstances and what kind of things would raise property value and relative value. just walking them through the decision process and helping them, understand the variables that they got to take into consideration. I love it. Yeah. And you've done things with cars too, haven't you?
Yeah, I do a car unit where we talk about buying cars. We'll talk about the difference between buying new and buying used. We'll talk about leasing and versus buying. We do a lot about insurance as well. We take a look at what kind of insurance they need to carry, the state minimums and all those kind of things. But then we always try to culminate it with what I call our on-lot car inspection. So I'll get 3 or 4 students to volunteer their cars, and we'll park it in a different part of the parking lot. And so students will go out, and it's always funny because before they go out, I always have to have that little heart-to-heart with those that don't own the cars and say, look, you're looking at somebody's baby right now.
Right.
So let's make sure we're respectful. Let's make sure that we're, if you've got some negative thoughts, you write them down on your check sheet.
It might not be the cutest baby, but you never tell a parent that your baby's not.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So then we go out to the parking lot, and each student picks a car, and I have the owner stand by the car to answer specific questions, and almost as if they were selling it. And of course, on the list is the test drive, but I really love my job a lot, and I won't let that. But
you skip that part. Come on, man! You could volunteer your own car for that, right?
Exactly. Yeah. But I know here in Wisconsin, we've done it in December. We've done it, when there's been new snow on the ground, and then just this year we did it, and it was 82 degrees out at 8:15 in the morning. So. Wow. We just get a lot of time to do it. But I have to share the one with you, though, that was just the ultimate. This was early in my teaching career. We had done this, and I had 2 students who actually played football for me as well. And they decided they were going to go to one of the local dealerships and actually do their own inspection of a car. So, of course, the car they chose was a used Corvette.
Naturally.
And so they're looking at this car, and one of the salespeople comes out and says, hey, is there something I can help you out with? And they said, oh, we're just doing this little extra thing for Mr. Chrisler's class. And the guy says, Joel Chrisler? Oh, I played football with him. You guys want to take it for a test drive?
Oh,
these guys got to take a Corvette out on a test drive.
That's
awesome.
So
that was a memory that was a pretty good one too.
Oh, that's awesome. No, I love it. These are practical skills that I think, and again, the brilliance of your approach here, I think a lot of teachers maybe take for granted is the students have resources. Not only are there resources in the community, but they got cars out in the parking lot, and you could kind of, create a faux car dealership, if you will, and they could go out and look and say, okay, if I were to buy, and maybe have them go look at Kelley Blue Book values of the car or something before they go out that matches that. I mean, if I go buy a car like this, and then talk to the owner about, well, here's some of the things you got to take into consideration. My piece of junk breaks down all the time. Or this thing's been so reliable, I love it. We never have to do anything. That's a great approach, and I love it. Absolutely love it. Okay, we're running out of time. I want to wrap up by giving a little bit of a shout out to Jumpstart some more, because a lot of teachers out there, surprisingly, aren't as familiar with Jumpstart as I would have assumed they were. It was always such a big part of my teaching career, but there are teachers out there. Could you just kind of explain a little bit about what Jumpstart is, and if they want to go and get more involved, what are some opportunities and how would they go about that?
Right. Jumpstart just is a great resource for teachers. They have several different aspects to them. One of the things that I first started looking at was what's called the Jumpstart Clearinghouse. And on there, they've got archived information, resources, pretty much everything you can find free, resources you'd have to pay for. I mean, it's all listed there. You can break it down by grade level. You can break it down by subject level, and it's just phenomenal. And they just do a great job of archiving that information. There's also another part of Jumpstart where it's check your school, and they can find out about whether or not school systems have a requirement in financial literacy. And so that's been a real big thing for them. They're also starting a teacher training program. So if you find yourself teaching financial literacy and you want a little bit more information for you so you feel more comfortable, there are opportunities available there.
Yeah, they really are such a great organization. The people there are I love them. They're so genuine. And, even when I went through the process with them to get my teaching model in their clearinghouse, like you mentioned, that catalog, like I was surprised at the vetting process. Like I was expecting, I was like, look, I'm one of your sponsored partners and I've got this. I just expected to be like, all right, let's list it. No, they still vetted it. They went through it. We're like, make sure this is not rubbish and that it's quality stuff. So all the resources that they've got on there, are vetted and are quality stuff. So yeah, love them to death. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much.
All right, that wraps up our two-part series with Joel Chrisler, and what a great couple episodes. I can't say enough about the value that his approach takes by giving students an opportunity to go out there, particularly in this last episode, have them go out to apartments and check those out, go out to the parking lot, talk to the car owners, look at the different things that are along there, just giving them that hands-on experience. And leveraging things that he already had access to, either through his personal network or through his students and the things that they already have that they bring to school every day, and giving them kids that extra little bit of insight in the purchasing and decision-making process. Absolutely love it. Love it, love it, love it. Thank you again, Joel, for coming on the program. For anyone out there who is interested in coming and being a guest on our podcast, please reach out to us at prepperiod@stewkent.com, or you can click on the link in the description. As always, thank you so much for listening. Be sure to subscribe to the Prep Period podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, pretty much anywhere where you get podcasts, right? So with that, hey, thanks for listening.